Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Fretham,
Present.
Mas Castillo, McDonough,
Here.
McGuire. Here. Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Carter.
Here. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The minutes from January 28th are before you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes. And we have the presentation of an award. I'm sorry, the agenda. I skipped over the agenda. Let's move it.
Second.
How about we have an agenda? Great. Please call the roll.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes. And now we have the presentation of a special award with those here for the presentation and Commissioner Ortega. Please join us at the front. And while they are coming forward, I will mention that this is an Individual Employee Achievement Award being presented to Cindy Hoffman of the Health and Wellness Administration Division.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cindy Hoffman is a Management Analyst 3 in Health and Wellness Administration. Cindy's nomination for a Ramsey County Employee Achievement Award recognizes her significant contributions, superior problem solving and professionalism, and positivity on the help desk, a resource for 1,400 employees who use the social service system, information system, or SSIS daily. Cindy was instrumental in ensuring Ramsey County was not only the first large county to convert to the new SSIS, but also a leader in doing so. Using the SSIS is crucial for employee success, and Cindy has earned a reputation for being able to spot and fix errors, preventing reductions in funding from the Department of Human Services. Cindy's supervisor, Janelle White, calls Cindy a big Plan B person. She looks at all options and solutions and finds solution after solution for user issues and technical issues, Janelle said. And I like to, Cindy's, oh, I got another page, excuse me.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it going.
Cindy's work includes preparing written instructions, answering hundreds of emails and numerous phone calls, providing technical assistance to management and updating new employee information to ensure they have the clearance they need to do their job. Cindy started working for Ramsey County 17 years ago as a case aide in social services and is known for her patience and helpfulness. She is described by someone who keeps the human and personal touch. At the end of the day, what is important to Cindy is Ramsey County's value of residents first. On behalf of the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners and the Employee Achievement Award Selection Committee, I hereby congratulate you all and present you with this well-deserved award. Thank you for your excellent job performance and contributions to our community.
Thank you.
I'll keep this brief, but I'm very honored to have received this award. I'd like to thank Debbie Ryder for nominating me. I'd also like to thank Karen Saltis, Chow Her, and Janelle White, and my unit, which is the revenue team, supporting me during this transition. Lastly, this whole migration from Ramsey County into SSIS with the state of Minnesota, it involved a lot of different departments. So the Department of Finance helped with this, Information Services helped, Management, Analyst Unit, Business Systems Support, Accounts Payable. All of this needed to be checked to make sure nothing broke when we made the transition. So, thank you.
Cindy, we all thank you so much for all of your work, and the fact that nothing broke certainly shows that
Well, if it broke, we don't know it.
yes, with systems such as this that are so very important to us. Thank you so very much. And to all of your supporters, an excellent job also, or representation of collaboration inside our departments. So we have the administrative agenda before us. Commissioner Ortega.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move items number 6, 7, 8,
I'll pull 8.
9, 10. I'm sorry, just 9.
Oh, okay.
Do you just do 8? Do you want to do the policy items separate?
Yes, yes. And so we're just going through the administrative agenda.
Just 9.
The items on the
Oh.
administrative agenda,
Oh, I'm sorry, 9 is
Which-
policy, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
which are 6 through 8, and we're pulling 8. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes. And item number 8 has been pulled. I believe there were 2 of us who pulled it. We do have Mr. McCabe, our Director of Parks and Recreation, Mark McCabe, here to talk to a significant item on our agenda, to talk about the opportunity to move forward a naming rights agreement for the Vadnais Sports Center. And if you don't mind, I'd appreciate if you would come forward. There will be discussion, and Commissioner Fretham, you'll have an opportunity also to ask questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Several months ago, Parks received direction from this board to pursue a naming rights agreement for the Vadnais Sports Center. And I'm thrilled to be standing here today to announce that we have this RBA that we're bringing forward for a naming rights agreement for the Vadnais Sports Center with Twin Cities Orthopedics. We feel that they are going to be a great community partner in this endeavor. They've been fantastic to work with. Their commitment to healthcare and health equity, I think, make them a great community partner for Ramsey County. This partnership will serve as a great model for future public and private partnerships with Ramsey County and beyond. I also want to thank the team from TCO that we've been working with, Chris Bailey, who's their VP of Sports Medicine and Therapy, along with Heather Lang, who's their VP of Marketing, it has really felt like a same side of the table negotiation. And I'd like to thank Chris Potenza, who's in our audience today with Ringside Advertising Network. He was the naming rights consultant that we hired to work on this project and has done great work for us. And sincerely appreciate your professionalism and helping us secure this opportunity. Other staff were involved: Ryan Reese from Parks and Recreation, Sarah Ackman, Joe Bergquist, and then Amy Schmidt from the County Attorney's Office, as well as our communication staff, did a lot of work on this project. Unfortunately, the cost of the project did rise significantly, and there were 4 main factors contributing to that rise in cost. The rise of steel prices through market demand and tariffs accounted for over 55% of the overage from the estimated cost to the final cost. Additional foundation work that has to be done out on the site. We talk about resilience. There was a lot of significant rainfalls, record rainfalls in fall this year, and that contributed to site remediation that now has to be done in order for us to restabilize that site, as well as some fire suppression work. But I'd like to circle back and just say that, this naming rights deal agreement, I should say, is substantial at $2 million. Our insurance settlement that we've been working on came back an additional $200,000 higher than what we had originally projected. And so we are able to backfill some of those funds. We are using, as is pointed out in the financing plan in these documents, there are going to be some parks capital projects, as we had projected, used for this project. Just like to say that most of them have either been refunded in the next budget cycle or were intended for this project anyway. The Badin Sports Center parking lot, we are getting additional parking on the site, and that was part of the plan. The Aldridge elevator, that project was completed, and so there are excess funds available. The Highland parking lot resurfacing and General Parks Bituminous, those projects have been funded in the 2020-2021 budget cycle. And so we're left with the arena regulatory compliance, green ice initiatives, and that was the refrigerant upgrades and energy upgrades for Shoreview and White Bear Ice arenas that will now be looking at our arena system from the 21st Century Parks perspective, working on how to best prioritize our needs across the arenas, and so that work will continue. So I'd just like to, again, say thank you for your support on this project. We're looking forward to actually breaking ground this spring on the new turf facility with anticipated finish date of November of the same year, and be open for business and serve the residents who vocalize so much how they want this facility. So thank you for your support on this project.
Thank you for sharing this update on the project with us. It also is a good example of our needing to move forward in an area and finding partnership in the community that can help us to advance the work on the Badin Sports Center as we need to do. So thank you for the description. I do need to ask for a motion in a second.
I would like to move.
Thank you.
Item 8.
Thank you. And so we do have the motion and second, appreciate the update, and can now have questions and discussion.
Well, I
Commissioner
just
Preston.
wanted to thank Mark as well, and appreciate you sharing how we were able to make sure the numbers still worked out with the increase, and that this is still a great investment for our community. I'll say I was talking to a constituent last weekend, and she mentioned that her son was playing soccer, and they're playing in the Blaine facility right now, and his game was at 9 o'clock at night on Saturday, and there was a 10 o'clock game after that for other teams. So the need for this facility is really evident. We can't have kids playing well into the night in order to get their physical fitness. So I'm excited to bring folks back into our community in Ramsey County and District 1 specifically. Also had the opportunity to do an open office hours at the Badin Sports Center about a week ago, and it was so great to see so many people coming out, both for open skate, cheering on the team as they came off the ice after their game. So this is really a community space, and I'm so glad that we were able to manage a partnership with the business community in the area as well. So this is great for our district and our county.
Fantastic, thank you. Are there other questions, comments on the project? Commissioner Reinhardt?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you as well. I mean, it's located in your district, but clearly the White Bear, the city of White Bear Lake and all around it have a huge use of this, and it was important there. But I think beyond that, it's very clear when you look at where kids are coming from, it's all over Ramsey County, and there are other counties as well, because we're right on the border there. But I have to tell you, it wasn't just about the neighborhood. It truly was not, and it was about making sure that our kids can get the physical fitness that they want, and you learn so much. I mean, sports, that's one of the things. It's not just about moving, which is important, but it's also about sportspersonship and really about life. And so it was something that was really needed, and I'm just thrilled that we were able to get the naming rights worked out. And it's also a model for future facilities as we move forward, including the community in that process. So it was a learning process, and one that I am just thrilled with the outcome. So thank you, and thank you to our consultant.
Thank you very much. And so we are ready for the vote. Motion and second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Carter?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so, we have a new agreement.
Thank you.
Moving to our policy agenda, there is one item on the policy agenda, appointment of commissioners to standing committees and outside board committees and commissions. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, and as we have the opportunity to move this item forward, I just want to share that the major action in this resolution moves the Board of Commissioners and its organization toward alignment with the current organization of our county and its service teams, the 5 key service teams, which are health and wellness, economic growth and community investment, public safety, information and public records, and our countywide strategic team, appointing a chair and vice chair to each of these. The change recognizes that service team structure, and it provides a deliberate opportunity for service team-focused committee meetings that help us as we review and plan to move the county's work forward together with our residents, of course, with our employees and with our community. So we are moving to, in this action, also abolish committees which have been longstanding but not meeting. Those committees will be taken away, and we will be instituting these 5 service team aligned committees. I want to thank committee members, or I should say board members, for the work that you've done in consideration of this change, and also staff for assisting in aligning all of the work. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any question? Or, yes, Commissioner Reinhardt.
I just, this is a significant step for our county. I mean, the things that we have done, we have been very thorough and really looked into what do we need to do to move this county forward. And I think the alignment with our service teams and really getting into the deeper dive and the discussions that we need to have on how we get the work done, because taking on the new structure and the new teams, we really needed to come up to date on this part of what we do as well. So I know that it may not seem like a big deal to people that are watching, but it is a big deal in getting the committees and getting our work done so that the committees of the whole will get us where we need to be as far as moving things in a more methodical way, and the transforming systems together. The timing is just absolutely perfect. I do want to point out that even though the previous committee system is not in existence anymore, that there are the legislative committee and the budget committee, those, and of course we've got HRA and Rail Authority, but those are separate entities basically. But we're really making sure that the entire process is seamless and that we all get the information that we need as commissioners.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you as the new chair for making that bold step.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for pointing out that, of course, those committees, which are germane to the work and have continued to meet, will continue moving forward as well. Thank you. So without further comment, will we please call the roll?
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Fretham?
Aye.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Carter?
Yes. Thank you very much. We've completed our agenda of items, and now we'll move to county connections by calling on County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm going to start with the happy topic of coronavirus. Just wanted to give a little bit of follow-up and bring comfort to people that this is an ongoing conversation here, both with the Public Health Department and across the county. The U.S. has declared a health emergency regarding the coronavirus outbreak. As of right now, that really doesn't mean anything major for Ramsey County specifically, but I wanted to contextualize that health emergency declaration with here. Public Health is a lead agency for us in this work going forward and on actions going forward. They're partnering closely with Emergency Management and Homeland Security as needed for that work as we go forward. Just a couple of general things to be thought of. These are not specific information releases or anything at this time, and we'll make sure to do that through official channels if we need to or when we need to. MSP does not get any direct flights from China at our airport. And so as the airport changes happen, that has impacts for connecting flights, but there are no direct flights impacted in and out of MSP airport. And then something you all know, but it's important to just restate, the declaration of a health emergency is like a declaration of any other local emergency. It really is as much an administrative act as anything else that allows for us to start to be able to do certain things. It does not actually require any immediate action here today from anybody, but it is that heightened sense of coming together and ensuring that we are ready to move if we need to move, because as we've seen, things can move quickly. So please continue to feel free to reach out to me. I'll be working with Kathy Hadeen in public health and Judd Freed in emergency management closely on the work. We don't know, there's a lot we still don't know, and we're reading about it every day as this unveils and unfolds, but rest assured, it is an ongoing topic across the organization. I also wanted to briefly mention on the election side, it seems like a timely time to do it based on some of yesterday. And just a reminder, coming out of Iowa, of the importance of elections and the challenges that we face when trying to both balance speed and efficiency and technology with delivering consistent, effective results every time. And I wanted to mention two parts of this. One, the county is making sure to undergo its own internal audit of its processes and practices ahead of the upcoming election cycle as a part of its continual improvement efforts. And that's been an important spot to go through not only the technology side, where the state does a lot of work already to certify voting systems in Minnesota and ensure certain standards of security and interoperability exist, but on the side of process. What happens from the moment a vote is cast to it entering into a system to how it finds its way back to our place where the votes are tabulated? What are the mechanisms to ensure there are safeguards against that? And it's just a reminder of the utmost importance for that work. Ramsey County has traditionally chosen to avoid some of the quickest shortcuts that technology can provide in a voting system. And that's a choice that we've made. And last night reminds some of the reasons why that may be a good decision. And I'm not here to defend it as a good or a bad decision, but to say it's always on our mind as we audit our system. We want to be as quick as we can be, but remaining non-networked has always been an important part of how our system operates to avoid some of the concern that can arise around the integrity of election results, which ultimately are the biggest deal. So know that we'll talk more about that as the summer comes on. The audit piece is a big part of that to ensure that we're feeling comfortable. We know we have our own primary coming here, which is a full-blown run of what's going on. And I should actually say the primary is already ongoing, and I feel like elections is tugging at me saying with the early vote piece starting. So just wanted to raise that. Finally, I want to end on a real high note. Last week on Friday, I had the opportunity to attend the Health and Wellness Service Teams Innovation Summit. It was the first of its kind. It was hosted in person over in the Ramsey County East building up on the 9th floor cafeteria. But there were watch parties around the county that were organized through technology at the Bigelow Building, Metro Square, Ramsey County Correctional Facility, the Juvenile Justice Center, 555 Cedar, Family Health, 402 University, 1919 University, the Probation Office on Minnehaha, Spruce Tree, and Environmental Health. And I list those to demonstrate the degree to which Dr. Allwood and everybody working with him said, this is about the entire team, and how do we use technology and proximity to galvanize our work as a collective. And that's a really neat step forward for this organization that I want to pause and reflect on from a logistics standpoint. And when we hear things like, we can't change the way we function in buildings because we've always been in spots where there's direct management and supervisory roles tied to direct staff, one office over, this is a direct idea to the piece that says we can find new ways to bring people together in a big, complex organization. It was a 2-hour event that opened with a welcome from the deputy, and then Matt Larson, the chief innovation officer for the city of St. Paul, keynoted the event and talked about the importance of partnership in this work and how to think about innovation. And I know there's a lot of ongoing conversations continuing to happen with Matt and Dr. Allwood about how do we go farther than just having a keynote as a part of a summit? How do we continue to drive that residents first work through both our organizations? There were a series of highlighted presentations then, and then there was almost felt like more of a science fair where you had exhibits around the room and you could talk to sponsors of projects across the service team on their work. And each had a poster board laid out for the projects. I wasn't able to join until 3:30. So I actually came during the open session, which was fun. I got to spend time talking to different people in the room and hearing their projects. and at one point getting kind of tugged from project to project by people who wanted to make sure they had a chance to tell the story of how their project came to be. It was a real uplifting way to end the week. And beyond that, what it was left with, I was talking to a woman I had not met before, and she was so proud of the project that she had been a part of. And it was all about changing the way in which we manage caseloads with electronic systems that interface across multiple tools, and how we had to first be willing to innovate before we were willing to see changes happen where staff felt engaged in that process and leaders wanted to support that. But through it, it was just this screaming example of what we can do through this Residents First work that we've been talking about, and why the broad enterprise-wide modernization work matters. It was just a front and center tangible example of what we stand on the precipice of doing. And while there were 15 posters around the room, I think that was only the beginning for this service team and this organization in that space. I've asked for all the posters. I'm trying to steal them. I think I'm going to get them, and I'm going to hang them up in the county manager's office for a while as a demonstration of the projects. So I will make a point of letting you all know when they're up so you could walk through, and it's going to be a part of a rotating art gallery in the county manager's office to remind us of the great work happening in different spots. So thank you for letting me take the time to walk through that. Thank you to Dr. Allwood for being the person behind the whole idea. I mean, this is one of those things where he said, I really think we need to bring innovation to this team in a new and structured way, and it was really exciting to get to see in action.
Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So we now have commissioner updates. We'll begin with Commissioner Ortega.
Madam Chair, I guess the main thing to report is I've been meeting, I must have met with at least 12 legislators already, I've lost count with Jennifer, regarding the River's Edge. And they all have various concerns, but to a person, they all think it's a fantastic project, and they think it's the wow factor is definitely there. They think it really is fantastic. So I think it's positive news, and we just got to keep advocating. Of course, we had the delegation meeting, and most of those folks I had already met with, so it was good to see that no big issues were raised on Friday regarding the project.
Thank you. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you. I just want to call out, I was able to go to the White Bear Township Board meeting on Friday and introduce myself to the board supervisors there, and a great conversation, especially about the roads in White Bear Township and the challenges, unique challenges that White Bear Township faces as a township instead of a city, and the value it adds to their community. Tonight I'll be at Venice Heights for their city council meeting, introducing myself there, and beforehand at the workshop, hearing Ling Becker present. So I'm excited to hear about that. I'm so sorry I missed the Innovation Summit. Unfortunately, sick children throw off your day occasionally. But I'm glad we'll get to see the posters, and I think I have time on my calendar with Dr. Allwood to talk more about it. And then yesterday, I was able to live stream the legislative hearing on supporting children of incarcerated parents. It was a joint hearing with the House Corrections team and also the House Early Education Finance and Policy team. This is a really important issue. There's some cutting-edge research coming out of the U of M really demonstrating how this population is uniquely impacted by multiple factors convening at once and multiple issues that the county has some direct control over. So I'm excited to do more with that and keep working to support these kids.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Commissioner Reinhardt.
There has been a lot going on, and I also was really sorry to miss the Innovation Forum. Looking forward to it, but honestly, to be just double booked is considered good at this point. So, and trying to balance everything. And I do think actually one of the things that our board has been so good about is making sure that if somebody can't be at something, you make sure that it's covered by someone else. And I think the bonding tour was a good example of that. It's like, okay, Victoria, you can go there. And I mean, everybody I think had a spot where they were at least at one of the locations for the bonding tour. But it's one of the strengths of our board actually is being able to spread that out so that we can get people to everything that they need to, that we need to have coming back to this board. So I was really pleased to participate in that. I was there for the Lake Links presentation and trying to get the final parts of that completed. And I have to tell you that Ted Schoenecker and our staff have done a fantastic job in working with the group, because it gets complicated when you've got city streets and state highways and county roads, and how you work with all those different entities. And they've really stepped up to that to make sure that whatever gets through, or how they're packaging this, that it's something that will be able to be used, quite frankly, because it makes a difference on where it's being done. And also it was at Century College, and so it was also about the work that needed to be done there, and about the fact that they've got some parts of the infrastructure there that is over 50 years old, and just hoping that things don't break, especially when it comes to heating and things like that. So there are a lot of needs, and really talking about what needs to be done, and some of the innovations are done outside of the infrastructure as well. I was at the Friends of the Library event, and I know that I will let Commissioner McGuire talk about that, but it was a lot of fun. You can see pictures on Facebook. We all, at least the women on the board, really got into it. And I know, again, there were so many things going on, so we had to figure out where to go, but we had fun, and it raised, I think each year they're raising a little bit more for the libraries, and the extra things that aren't absolutely needed, but really wanted by our constituents. And it was held at the Roseville Library, which of course is the busiest library in the state of Minnesota. It's my understanding, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yep.
yes.
There's a few libraries trying to come in, but yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely one of the most, is one of the.
Well, that's what they announced there that night, so we'll just go with it.
We're going to go.
I also had, on Saturday, spent a few hours out on the ice in White Bear Lake for the Barely Open, and this is the 13th year that they've done it, and I've been a course marshal, which is a lot of fun. The costumes are absolutely amazing. If you thought the library one was fun, oh my gosh, this is all for the food shelf, by the way, in White Bear Lake, and again, they're raising more and more every year, and it was sponsored by the Rotary, but it's really a community effort, and the Winter Carnival, it's part of the Winter Carnival as well, so the royalty was there. But the winner of the costumes were women that were dressed up as potted plants. You just had to see it in order to understand, but for a very good cause, and it's great to see community come together like that. Just a couple of other things, and this is just a sampling of what was going on last week. Yesterday, I participated in the public and private sector unsheltered homelessness leadership meeting. I had to read the name of it to make sure I got it right. This is led by Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, and there were, I don't even know how many people in the room, probably 50 around this table, and talking about all aspects of the issue of homelessness and the work that's been done, especially since the first of the year with Governor Walz and the legislature last session, making sure that there's funding available. Max Holdhausen was there along with Lonnie as support, and I will tell you that it was interesting because it was pointed out that Ramsey County, we were ahead of the curve, and so we got a lot of things done. They wanted to know, what do you plan to do in the next 3 months? And I said, well, before I talk about that, I want to talk about what we did in the last 3 months. And the work that was done to, I think it was 81 families that ended up not being in crisis, not being homeless, because of the work that was done to prevent that. That's pretty amazing. And talked about the importance of thinking ahead, so that it's not just about the crisis once people are homeless, but what do you need to do before that? I talked about even the county attorney's work on expungement of criminal records, and how that plays into what has getting an apartment and being able to keep that, getting a job so that you have the money to go into an apartment or have housing for your family, and all of these things and how they all tie together. So I said, we started our work and we're continuing to reimagine how we are able to basically put our arms around the entire issue and the services that need to be provided so that we can prevent homelessness and really help people early on in this process. But I talked about that and said, and we started all of that, and a lot of our money and the efforts that we had came in before January. When the money was available, but oh well, and even the budget with the 1.1, I think it's $1.1 million that has been really kind of put together in a way that it wasn't new money, but it was money that was, we made sure that we were focused on how we were providing it. I know I'm spending a lot of time on this particular item, but I think it's incredibly important to know that there are a lot of really dedicated people that we're coming together as a state, as a region, and really talking about how we can share what we need to do. It was really heartwarming when the person from Scott County said that he wanted to make everybody aware of the fact that they understood that every county has to take responsibility. And he was kind of surprised when Hennepin County and Ramsey County and the other counties went, all right. Because, again, he said, we do have to recognize, and we do, that this is not something that you can push off to another county, which, we all know that that's something that has happened in the past. And so that recognition. But obviously the funding coming through, and we're still going to be able to utilize some of that, but we were ahead of the curve in getting things done as quickly as possible, and I gave credit to our staff for making that happen, especially Max when it came to the sheltered, year-round shelter. So, and right after that, actually, I had the opportunity as a member of the Local Government Advisory Committee for the EPA to chair my first meeting I was named chair of the Revitalizing Communities Work Group. And it was pretty exciting. We're talking about risk communication and about a number of issues, obviously, that deal with climate change, and how do we really look at those issues from a bigger perspective, including, I did bring up emerald ash borer and said that it's something that we need to talk about because of the impact that losing those trees and the impact on our water, the impact on our climate, reforestation, and all of those things. It's not just we look at it also from a wood waste perspective and trying to deal with it, but the impact of that. But there are so many things that we are working on, but this risk communication report going to the EPA is really critical in how do we get a coordinated message out when we have something that's a risk to the community? And what part of the community is it a risk to? What languages do you need? There are so many different aspects of it. Finally, I was able to represent Ramsey County. I don't think there were any other commissioners there for the Frederickson-Byron legislative session review. And obviously we've spent a lot of time talking about what's happening at the legislature, and it was interesting to see the leaders, both in the House and Senate, both parties, talking about really what they had in common and where some of the things were different, but at the same time getting that overview, and they do a nice job of having that session overview. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your report. Commissioner McDonough?
No report.
Thank you. Commissioner McGuire?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Many things have been mentioned, but I'm going to highlight a few more, and it was a busy week as usual. What I want to start out by saying I apologize also that I wasn't able to make the Innovation Awards. I do want to really recognize all the great work that our staff is doing, and so I hope we can make, that I can make the next one, but I'm really excited to hear that you're going to bring the posters over to your office, and I look forward to seeing those. I will say that at that time, I was doing a webinar for NACO on the public health accreditation, and I want to give a huge shout out to Suzanne Stenso-Vilo, who was our accreditation coordinator. I was so proud to be on the phone with her as she was talking about how we had gone through that process. And I had, spoken to Commissioner McDonough. I'd actually spoken to former Director Rena McManus, who was around for that, but we had some background information. But Suzanne did just such an amazing job of explaining, why we had gone through public health accreditation and why it was important to have, have our department do that, and why it would be helpful for other departments to do it. So NACO had asked us to do that, and in my role as chair of Healthy Counties, we put that together, but I really give all the credit to Suzanne for putting that together. So that was exciting. And as we know, we can't do any of our work without all of our amazing staff. And I know that as we work with our communities, we're always working as hard as we can, and sometimes our communities are disappointed, and more often than not, they're excited. And I have to read a letter from our community of New Brighton, who was just so pleased. They sent me a letter, and I'll be sharing it with, if I haven't already, with Carrie Collins and Max Holdhusen, who came to us to talk about the housing and redevelopment that they're doing in New Brighton, and what Ramsey County can do to help them. So she says, they gave a marvelous presentation on the steps that the county is taking toward economic development and the housing needs in the county. They spent a great deal of time helping the council understand the tools that are available to the city to help provide safe, affordable, and necessary housing and future economic development. So they had planned it several weeks ago, but on the same day that they had planned it, they had a sale of 2 apartment buildings, and eviction notices had gone out to 80 people in that complex. She says the day of the meeting with Carrie and Max, they heard that people from that housing complex were going to come to that same meeting. So the condition of the buildings and the hardship that they were trying to find housing. When he became aware of the situation, Max stayed for an hour and a half to hear the public voicing their concerns. He heard firsthand what these folks are dealing with, as I am certain he does every day at work. And just since Tuesday, Max and others at the county have jumped into action to come up with solutions and resources to help these citizens. We have a long way to go, but I want you to know how much I appreciate the action that is being taken. And I think this is just another great example of our staff just really responding to really a tragic situation when these people got these eviction notices. So really thanks to Max and his team and Carrie and for just being ready to work. And as we said, we have a long ways to go on that. And then on a lighter note, we know that Ice Castles is happening in Long Lake Regional Park, also in New Brighton. The mayor is very happy about how it's all going, and we're happy about that. And I went to it this weekend, and it is quite a sight. I mean, it is amazing. It's really an icicle city, is what I describe it, because you walk in and you're all of a sudden open into this big area of all these icicles and ice sculptures and fountains and slides, and it's really quite remarkable. And so New Brighton is hoping that we continue this partnership. I mean, that they would continue to come back. And I understand that I've heard good things about the ice castles being there. So good work to Parks and Rec, and good work to our economic development team. So continuing on with what's going on, we had an interagency early intervention committee. This is a committee of the 7 counties that meets to talk about the early intervention issues that we have. So we have members of our public health. Nancy Lee was there, Jane Cox-Lindsay was there, and we had Laura Larson from public health. So actually Ramsey County is well represented, but all people representatives from the 7-county area. I am a county commissioner on there, and we get to hear about the coordination that's going on and try to promote more coordination between all of our agencies within the 7-county metro area. And I just want to give a shout out. Think Small is also a part of this. They gave a presentation, and I'm going to hand out these little cards because they have this great texting service for families. So families can sign up for weekly texts on how to, just helpful hints on on working with children. And it's just a great thing. So that's a wonderful organization, or a wonderful coalition, I should say, of things going on. So we did have our delegation meeting with Ramsey County legislators, and most of us were able to be there, and we had a good turnout of legislators. We do want to have another meeting because we just, there's never enough time for all the questions and conversation that we could have. So I think we're going to try and have one specifically centered around our bonding requests for legislators, so that we'll have even more time to talk about that. But I just want to, thank everyone who had a part in that, with Jenna Rourke and Melissa and Claudia Brewington was her last day, but we had a great turnout. Representative Rena Moran is continuing to be the chair for the House, and Senator Carolyn Lane will continue to be the chair for the Senate. I want to give a special shout out because Susan Kent was present at our meeting, and she is now the new minority leader in the Senate, leading the DFL caucus in the Senate, and that's, we all read about that in the paper, and we've all been know about that. But I think that Susan will do a great job, and I know that she'll do a great job in trying to bring her caucus together, because I know that, that's, that there's going to be some healing that needs to take place, and I think she'll do a great job of that. But I'm proud to say she's a member of our delegation, and she's very active in that. We did have the Roaring Twenties gala at the Ramsey County Library in Roseville, the Friends of Libraries, and a big shout out to the friends who put this on, and to all of us that were able to be there and participate in the costume contest, and awards were given. It was great. Also that day, Rice and Larpenteur had their Rice and Larpenteur Alliance meeting. This is the area where Maplewood, St. Paul, and Roseville come together, and we are partners. They are partners with Ramsey County and now the community. And we had just a great meeting to come together to bring the community closer to really taking more of being more in charge of that coalition. So we were inviting community members to be a part of that. Have to give a shout out to the Nepali restaurant. It's called the Nepali Kitchen, 1700 Wright Street on the Maplewood side. It is so good. Great buffet there. So everyone go to that restaurant. They were great hosts there. Also, Little Canada was on the lake, also had their ice fishing contest and their booyah. And these are great community events where they really support youth organizations and, the fire department. And so just a shout out to all the great community events, excuse me, that are going on. And one more thing, just to say that I want to remind people that the Active Living Ramsey County, or Ramsey Communities Walking and Biking Team is having their meeting this Thursday night at the Hallie Q. Brown Community Center. This is where we're going to share and get feedback on biking and walking within our communities. So if people can go to that, that would be great. And our legislative teams are having their town hall meetings. 42 had theirs last week, and 66 is having theirs on Saturday. And so just encourage people to go to their town hall meetings that many of us attend as well. So I think that's everything that I can, that I want to share.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take a moment to connect the dots. I think it was really helpful to share the letter from New Brighton about that situation and hear about the response from our folks. But so many times we talk about how difficult it is to get up to prevention. And the action we took earlier this month, where we are participating in the NOAA 2 fund, is actually intended to prevent that from even happening to families, where we can come in, where they can come in, purchase these properties at market rate, so the owner is made whole, but then make some investments and keep these affordable for families. So I wanted to connect that dot, because we don't always make those connections, especially when it comes to prevention.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your reports and for the work that you're doing in the community. I know that we feel it necessary to share and really can't find enough time to share this kind of work, but I appreciate that you've brought it forward. And in also connecting the dots, I do want to mention that Commissioner Matis Castillo and I, and by the way, Commissioner Matis Castillo is doing work for us on a tour with the Recycling and Energy Board today, so it's not present at our meeting. But she and I were able to attend the Health and Wellness Innovation Summit, and I know several have mentioned this work. And as we talk about the prevention strategies that we are employing, the innovative work that has been done in health and wellness, truly does reflect prevention and the opportunity to engage early to avoid deep-end circumstances. And one of the projects that were spoken about, the rapid stabilization, all roads lead to housing, does work at the beginning of that continuum to ensure that people who would be homeless and are in our shelter system wait list or in shelter are housed effectively. And Commissioner Reinhardt, you mentioned the 81 families with whom we were able to prevent homelessness. And I believe that that is connected to this work that we heard about there. There were 6 projects that were highlighted. I just wanted to add that although those 6 were highlighted, it was so clear from the posters in the room, from the applications, that had been made to the Innovation Summit, and just from the spirit of innovation in the room, that this was about recognizing all of the work, not just these 6 projects, but all of the work that health and wellness team members and really members from throughout our county are encouraged to do as we are working toward escalating the innovation that will help us to achieve the vision and the goals of our strategic plan. So hats off for that work. It was the first annual Innovation Summit, right, Paul? Who's out in the audience. It was the first annual Health and Wellness Innovation Summit. And I so look forward to next year's summit, but also to others throughout the county also lifting up the innovative work that's happening in all of our service teams. So I wanted to just share the impression from that. Also to thank all who are doing the incredible work in our county, including the Friends of the Library, who held the hats off to the library, which was just great fun. And a special thank you also to Commissioner McGuire for the work that you did in organizing our legislative delegation meeting and understanding that there wasn't enough time there either to talk about the work that we need to do. And so thank you for the relationship development and for utilizing the skills and opportunities that all of us have to continue in that discussion with our legislators during this session and in advancing the projects that we are looking forward to. We do have a couple of additional meetings today, one which will take 15 minutes for. Can we meet then on in our second floor conference room at 10 after 10 for our comments from our Chief Financial Officer who is exiting, and Lee Merkins will be sharing thoughts with us for the future. And after that, we have a discussion. Commissioner Fretham is leading the workshop on outgoing comments from the Chief Financial Officer. Commissioner McGuire at 1:30 will be leading our commissioner-led discussion on our legislative session. Thank you very much. Our meeting is adjourned.